Hello, this is Patricia Brooks, and this is Courage Concept number 52. Snap judgments blind us and can hold us back. 8 years ago, when I walked through the doors of Weight Watchers for a second time, I was critical. I was critical of myself and of other people. And after stepping on the scale and seeing that I had put on all the weight I had lost the first time I had done Weight Watchers, I didn't feel good about myself. I felt dejected. But I decided I was going to stay for the meeting anyway. So I took my seat in the waiting area. And as I did that, while I was doing that, another woman came in and she weighed in and then she took a seat. And we didn't speak to each other, but I glared at her. And I thought to myself, because she was about 30, younger than me, she was perky and she was thin, I thought to myself, what the hell is she doing here? She doesn't need to lose any weight. What is she trying to prove? The meeting started. She didn't say anything throughout the meeting. Neither did I. And I would see her from time to time, maybe once a month. And she was quiet. But in the third or fourth month, the leader asked her to stand up and share her story. And she did. And she said that she had lost 90 pounds on Weight Watchers. And this was her 1-year anniversary of reaching goal weight. We all applauded. And I turned to my neighbor and I said, wow. And I felt a little bit guilty because of how I had glared at her and the critical thoughts I had of her that first time I saw her. And I thought to myself, Patricia, you should have been looking up to her. You should not have been looking down your nose at her. But I thought, well, no harm, no foul, because I never said anything bad or negative to her. And I kept going. I kept going to meetings and was losing weight week by week. And at the end of 9 more months, I had reached my goal weight. I had lost 75 pounds and I felt really good. And I decided I was going to continue to come to the meetings so that I would not put the weight back on as I had the first time I had done Weight Watchers. And so that's what I did. But I felt the uncomfortable glares of other people, other new members who were coming in and who did not know my story. And it didn't feel good. And I was angry at them for looking at me that way. And I wasn't really sure, I wasn't certain of what they were thinking, but I had an idea. And I thought to myself, Patricia, even though you didn't say anything to Sarah, the woman that I spoke of earlier, she probably felt that animosity coming out of your thoughts, and that was not a positive thing to do. Snap judgments blind us and can hold us back. This concept goes to the catalyst for cultivating courage that is shifting your perspective, because once we recognize that we don't know the whole story, that we don't know what came before that snap judgment we made, we could have a lot more compassion, or at least be neutral about the situation, and not give off negative emotions and negative energy to people. Now, that's not the first time I've had an experience where I was critical of someone and then found myself in their shoes. So when I moved to France, I had been learning French or relearning French for a couple of years. But because I wasn't speaking it on a daily basis, I was not fluent and my grammar was not in any way perfect. And so as I was trying to communicate in stores or to other people in French, it was not pretty. It was not grammatically correct. And I felt like people were perhaps judging me for not speaking it properly. And I was reminded of how often I would be at work and I'd be working with people whose first language was not English, but who were doing an excellent job of communicating, even though it was not grammatically correct all the time. And I would say to myself, and I was self-righteous about this, I would say to myself, they can't be too smart because they can't even speak English correctly. With that kind of attitude. And I say it to myself, I would never say it to them. But I felt so bad once I realized how difficult it is to learn a second language and how much courage it takes to speak a second language with somebody else and risk being judged or criticized. How much courage and energy and effort it takes to put forth that effort. And so anytime I hear somebody speaking English as a second language and it's broken, and even if it's not their second language and they don't speak it grammatically correctly, I don't judge because I don't know the situation. I don't know what their upbringing or what the consequences were before, or what the situation was before I came and spoke to them and heard them speaking the way they speak. So that is something I never do again. And it's been a huge lesson for me to reserve judgment because I don't know the whole situation. Now, in order for you to become more aware of the snap judgments you may be making, I'd like for you to answer the following questions. And if you'd like, you can write your answers down. The first question is, think back to a time when you felt judged. You felt like somebody was thinking something critical of you. And maybe they said something to you and maybe they didn't. What was the situation and how did that make you feel? Question number 2 is, think back to a time when you made a snap judgment, a critical snap judgment of someone else. What was the situation? And whether you said something to them or not, what was the outcome or the consequence if you know it? And then finally, the next time you find yourself making a criticism of someone else in your head, think back to this concept: snap judgments blind us and can hold us back, and my stories, and remind yourself that you don't know the whole story. That is courage concept number 52. I will see you again next time. Bye.